Now we're recording, and I already called to order this meeting at 6:30 p.m. August 22nd. All commission members are present. As I was saying, this meeting is being held virtually, and if any technical interruption occurs and the meeting ends suddenly, it will not be resumed, and all items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting date, which would be the second Tuesday in September. And as you just heard, if you're on the meeting right now, this meeting is being recorded by the Conservation Commission. And if anyone else is recording the meeting, you're required to let me know. All right, hearing none, I will assume no one is recording. So we can get to our first item on our agenda, approval of meeting minutes, August 8th, 2023.
I'll motion to approve the meeting minutes from August 25. Is that what it is? 2023?
August 8th.
July. Oh, August. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong ones. I'm looking at July 25th. Sorry. I'll motion to approve the meeting minutes from August 8th, 2023, and read them really quickly.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the minutes by Kristen, seconded by Erica. Should beat you to it. Any further discussion on the meeting minutes?
Is it dated correctly? I think
yeah.
I think that you're reading the right minutes, but it's just dated.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. It's like, wow, it's been that long since a hearing. And then I had another comment on the first public hearing, I think that's on the minutes for the Green River swimming area. Did I abstain from that? I thought I did. Did I really say aye? I should have.
I checked back. You did. Yeah, you should have abstained, but you did vote.
That's all I've got.
Okay, so yeah, at the top of the meeting minutes, it says July 25th, 2023, so that needs to be updated. Yeah, I didn't have any other comments. All right, hearing no other comments, we'll do a roll call vote on approving the minutes. Erica?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Fletcher?
Aye.
All right, and I'm also an aye, so those minutes with the edits discussed are approved. Okay, so next on our agenda, we have a couple of public hearings. First is public hearing notice of intent bank stabilization at the Green River swimming area, map 27, lot 18, DEP file number 168356, continued from August 8th, 2023.
They are requesting to continue again to the 12th.
And they're still waiting on natural heritage.
Right, or their response to natural heritage.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anyone want a motion to continue it?
Make a motion to approve their request for continuance until September 12th, 2023.
I'll second
Green
that.
River stabilization.
Okay, motion to continue by Erica, seconded by Fletcher. All right, so I'll do a roll call vote on that. Erica?
Aye.
Kristen?
Abstain.
Oh, all right. Fletcher?
Aye.
All right, and I am also an aye, so that motion passes with 3 votes and 1 abstention. Okay, so that will be continued to our next meeting. So then next on our agenda is public hearing, amended order of conditions, storage buildings redesign, map R24, lot 11, DEP file number 168350. And I'll just read the description on the agenda real quick. Due to unforeseen subsurface conditions at the site that were revealed during construction, it became necessary to revise the project layout. The project now proposes a one-story concept instead of the previously approved two-story building design. Additional plantings are proposed to enhance areas between the proposed work and the stream. In both the original and revised design, stormwater impacts to the resource areas are significantly reduced. And do we have someone here who would like to present about that?
Yes, hello, Chris Chamberlain, civil engineer with Berkshire Design Group. Also here are Jim Boyle, the applicant, and Doug Serrell from our office, who's a landscape designer and helped with the planting plan. Seeing that it's just commission members here, I'll spare some of the detail on this because we've been here the last two meetings, but I will bring up the plans and just refresh our memory. So this is the plan set that was submitted and is quite similar to something that's been presented at recent meetings. So again, the old rug lumber complex. This was the existing condition before work started. This is the main building here. Well, we had done some subsurface soil testing before the project began. Once this building was taken down, it became apparent that we really had a significant inflow of water via groundwater through this site to the point where it was challenging and a little scary to try to manage that and keep it out of the basement level of the two-story storage complex that the commission had approved late last year. And so the plans have been revised to eliminate what you'll recall was a large building C in this location here. And in its place, we're going to have three smaller slab-on-grade buildings, sort of your more traditional storage structures with access on the outside from this center drive here. And relocated the office, which was previously in this location here, to this location here in order to make room for an additional single-story building in this location. Overall, this reduces the leasable square footage by a significant amount, but with that slab-on-grade single-story concept, the potential impacts of groundwater are significantly reduced. So it goes a long way to making the project viable. In the process, the extents of impervious area and therefore degraded area in the local riverfront were increased versus what had been approved, and in sort of reflection of that, I don't know what word I'm looking for, in order to mitigate some of the potential for additional impact of that area versus the original plan. This plan proposes an increase in the stormwater management system, specifically additional infiltration, exceeding the water quality volume of the increased impervious area, and additional naturalized plantings. As you'll recall, this area up here, where in the existing condition, the rug building went right up to the edge of BVW. We are still pulling all of the proposed work outside of the 25-foot no disturb zone. We are continuing to sort of focus our renaturalization with some shrubs and trees filling in with native species in this location here. But then added to this plan as compared to the approved plan are multiple additional areas where we're proposing native plantings as sort of a restoration effort. And we focused on those areas where the current site was very close to the resource areas, sort of anywhere that the existing site was beyond the 25-foot buffer. We've added additional plantings here, and here, and we can circle back on what those are in just a second after I summarize these, but Doug went out to the site, took a look around, as was suggested by Kristen, didn't find a lot of inspiration out there in the existing site, but also took some of the recommendations that the commission had made last time we were here and put together this planting plan. Originally, there were the 2 trees and 12 shrubs, I think, in this location as our naturalization. We've added about 27 plants, small young shrubs as well as tree stakes so that we could plant a lot of them with the intention of making sure that they stay healthy over a few years and try to make a more substantial impact than just a handful of larger specimens. And looking at the utility plan, again, the other significant change is the stormwater management. So we have, the main difference is that this underground infiltration chamber, which used to be sized at about 1,100 cubic feet, we've increased that to about 1,800 cubic feet, so an increase of more than 50% over the size. Are directing the entirety of the roof of this new building, which is conveniently located, as well as continuing to have the entirety of building B going to that infiltration basin, which we've placed in the portion of the site where we've got good sandy soils. And just as was the case originally, essentially every last square foot of impervious area on this site goes to some kind of, or I should say every last square foot of pavement on this site goes to some kind of water quality treatment. Most of this upper paved area gets routed through catch basins to a stormwater quality unit, storm scepter in this location before being discharged to the municipal stormwater system. And building C, as well as the parking lot that used to be in this location with driveway access to the road, was all directed to a proposed rain garden in this area. The geometry of these have changed, but the concept of all of this impervious area being collected and then discharged to this rain garden, which because of our high groundwater and poor soils has an under drain in order to make sure that it dewaters. So it's a filtering concept rain garden. Still manages water quality for that. Just to refresh, this is an amended, we're requesting an amended order of conditions. DEP has provided guidance as to how a commission may choose to amend an order of conditions, and it may do so if it finds that the changes are of a relatively minor nature and can be considered as an amendment as opposed to great enough to warrant the filing of new notice intent. And there are 4 criteria, which again, I'll go through pretty quickly. A, whether the purpose of the project has changed. Here it clearly has not. This is still a storage facility. Really, as I highlighted, some rearrangement of the geometry, but basically the same project. Whether the scope of the project has increased. Here we are looking at the square footage of the project has actually been decreased significantly, unfortunately for Jim, compared to the original proposal. Impervious area has increased, which we're mitigating through stormwater as well as additional plantings, but the limit of disturbance really has not changed because that's driven by the site features that need to be demolished. So the sort of total construction impacts to the site are really unchanged. Number 3 was whether the project meets relevant performance standards, this being local riverfront. In the letter we submitted both previously and a revised version more recently, as well as in the hearing last time, we stepped through those riverfront criteria and had, I think, to the commission's satisfaction, demonstrated that we were in compliance with them with a TBD noted on the stormwater management plan. And then the 4th one was whether the potential for adverse impacts to the protected statutory interests will be increased. And this we had a bit of a discussion on. And again, sort of the 2 main potential impacts from this project we saw as the degraded area and proximity to the resource areas, which we've attempted to mitigate by a significant increase in the renaturalization plantings that are proposed, and the potential for stormwater impacts. And as noted, sort of on the, when we look at stormwater, there are 3 main impacts, just to talk broadly about the standards. We've got attenuation. We are still, even though our impervious area has increased versus the approved plan, we are still reducing runoff from the site as compared to the existing condition. Infiltration, as I noted, we've increased infiltration by a volume that exceeds the water quality volume that would be associated with the new impervious area that we created, and significantly more than what we actually would have been required to meet that standard. Essentially, these two roofs in any small storm are going to infiltrate almost 100% into the good sand that we've got there. And the last one is water quality, and we're continuing to meet the water quality criteria for all of these all of this site. We've got impervious area from roofs going to infiltration, which is a good BMP for this site, given the sand. And as I mentioned, all of the pavement is then draining either to a stormwater quality chamber that will remove 80% or more TSS, or to a rain garden, which the stormwater handbook gives us a 90% TSS credit removal for that. And then just one other thing I'll touch on, because this was a discussion on the original permit of snow removal. This plan has changed just a little bit, not really much of the layout. But we have we dedicated this area here. You'll remember, to sort of a settling basin that would allow the snow to be piled, and to trap it in a basin with a bit of a check dam as sort of a water quality swale, in order to make sure we were mitigating the impacts to that. In the parking lot that was up in this area, we intended to push all the snow right into the rain garden. Now, in this layout, there's a bit of a vertical drop with a guardrail on this side. So that's going to be a challenge. So more than likely, the majority of this snow will also get pulled up to the top of the site. And again, going to this settling basin, so that we can ensure that we're trapping the sediment that comes off there. And then just to conclude, I'll just highlight, oops, sorry, meant to zoom and not scroll there. This is our updated plant list. Some of these are the ornamentals that are more meant for the front of the site, but we have, as I was mentioning, what we've targeted for the more naturalized part of the site. We've got some sweet pepper bush. I should not hack my way through this. Doug, just give us a quick rundown of which of these species are on the periphery of the site for the buffer areas.
Sure. Calethra alnifolia, sweet pepper bush, silky dogwood, red osier dogwood, winterberry, spice bush, and the arrowwood, Viburnum dentatum, are a series of shrubs that are all facultative species that we thought would be a good, are an appropriate variety of shrubs for the, kind of elevation to the, connection to the surrounding wetlands and water table, and fit to the region appropriately. It was difficult to find any native shrubs on site once you try to pass through the kind of invasive plant barrier that's growing with great abundance around the edge of the site. There was not a lot growing underneath dense canopy of tree cover. And so kind of in lieu of being able to see other native shrubs that we could expand upon, this list of shrubs was selected to be an appropriate mix to add some diversity to the site.
And so with that, happy to answer any remaining questions.
I guess another question was, I think we had asked about the stormwater report, and I think you sent an updated stormwater report.
We did, yes.
I don't know if you could just maybe briefly touch on that.
Yeah, so I think that what I was saying a little bit earlier is probably the high level summary of it. Still complying under the redevelopment standards with this site. Again, I could tick through all of these. Some of these get a little sort of paperworky, but the three keys are attenuation, and we have a significant reduction against the existing condition for our proposed site. For example, in the 2-year storm, the existing site has a peak runoff of 4.5 CFS. We're dropping that down to 3.2, leaving the site. So a reduction of, I think that's more than 25%. Not quite as big of a reduction percentage-wise. The 10 and the 100-year. 10-year storm goes from 8.2 down to 6.2. 100-year storm goes from 17 CFS down to 16.5. And in each of those, because of the dedicated volume of infiltration, we're expecting a reduction in volume of water leaving the site. The sort of discharge points really don't change at all. It continues to be a storm sewer connection directly to the city system. We've got a rain garden with an under drain that connects to the city system with an overflow. That rain garden sized for the water quality volume of the impervious area going there. So then the thinking is that that the follow-on water has then been treated and then overflows by sheet flow off of the site. And so again, the thing that we looked at really for that point number 4 on the amended order of conditions standard, we are increasing by about 7,000 square feet the impervious area. The water quality volume, the sort of volume you need to treat in order to say that you've actually treated runoff, is 1/2 inch on this site. And so 1/2 inch over that 7,000 square feet is about 290 cubic feet of additional storage. But instead we added about 800 cubic feet of additional storage in that in the infiltration basin. And part of that was just so that we could continue to get our attenuation numbers to work in the larger storms. And then we still have our erosion control plan. We've still got an operation and maintenance plan attached to the stormwater report that hasn't changed. There's a requirement for prohibition of illicit discharges, which Jim will be happy to sign before the project is over. And yeah, if there are specific questions, happy to answer. That's certainly the high level summary of where the stormwater's gone.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Chris. I have a couple of questions. I have more than a couple of questions, but I guess my first one, since we're talking about stormwater, is when you submitted the redesign, did you copy DEP? Have they had a chance to review that? Okay, and so we haven't received any additional comments from DEP, because one of the things we really rely on a lot from the Western Region Circuit Rider is specifically comments regarding stormwater management systems and the stormwater handbook and compliance with that. So we haven't received anything back, Mitch, from DEP regarding stormwater stuff?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
Kristen, I wonder if we might not get that because I think that's only for riverfront. Like on this site, it would only be for riverfront area, and this is only under our local ordinance.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that's possible.
Also, in my experience, Mark comes out with those comments on the first submission, and then unless something really egregious gets submitted on any, not even in just an amended order of conditions, but revised plans go in all the time. I don't think I've ever seen comments on revised plans.
Gotcha.
What I can say is that, the design of the stormwater management and the discharge points have not changed from the original, and that's typically what he really keys in on.
So you're still in compliance with the Massachusetts stormwater standards? Okay.
Absolutely.
Can I look at the planting schedule again? I was curious about that rhododendron species, and I'm not sure if that's native, but that could just be a cultivar, so I'm not sure.
I think that was on the plan, on the original approval plan, but Doug probably knows better than I do.
Yes, the 2 rhododendron species that are there, rhododendron maximum is a native rhododendron PJM. It's a good question. I do not know if that has its roots in if its original taxa is native to that. It's put in an area that is. I realize I'm trying to move my mouse and I'm not the one screen sharing. I'm looking at a paper copy in front of me, but it's over by the entranceway of the site, so it's out of the just by
That's in
the
this area
office.
here.
Yes, exactly there, and then just behind the office, in between the office and Building E, there are 5 of those PJM species there, and so they are outside of the kind of core area of the wetland buffer that we were looking to add plants to rehabilitate and improve. So we'd be happy to adjust that species to find something that replace it with more of a not questionable. Maybe half of its genome is native, and the other half might be a mix. To be honest, I'm totally uncertain for PJM. But yeah, is that something that concerns you, we could take a look at that and or add that into the order of conditions to revise and replace with another shrub of similar size from our list.
I would just say if it's outside of our jurisdiction, then there's not really much we can say. If it's within jurisdiction, I would just say double check all species to be within our county and reference the Dow Kalina 2011 county checklist. If it's native to Franklin County, I'm good with it. And if it's outside of our jurisdiction, I'm not sure what we can really tell you what to do on your project.
Yeah, I believe it is all outside of the 100-foot buffer.
Yeah, Kristen, it is. I believe the entire site is within the riverfront area of the local ordinance riverfront area. So I think under that, I think the entire site is within our jurisdiction.
I had just another comment. I'm worried about the ilex being too dry in a buffer zone, but I'm gonna double check the indicator status for that one right now. Because I don't want, I guess I was thinking about, is there any kind of, I mean, if it's technically in a local jurisdiction, are we going to be requiring any kind of post-plant installation inspection and reporting with a certain percent threshold of survivability, like a 75% survivability with replacement plan or corrective actions if they're failing? And if that's the case, then I would caution against a plant that likes super wet feet if it's not in a wetland. I'll double check on that.
Sure. Yeah, it's my understanding that is one of the kind of adaptive rain garden species that likes wet feet, but can tolerate some drought. So kind of the high floodplain type species. But yeah, if you're finding different information, then and are concerned, we could certainly relook at that.
I don't even know if we have discussed that before, have we? I mean, say it was a BBW restoration plan, we would certainly have a 2-year post-installation reporting and monitoring of all that. This is technically local riverfront, so I don't know if we've even discussed that. I'm just trying to angle this towards success.
And this area that we're talking about here is very wet.
Okay.
This is where that footprint of the building was. We know we've got a ton of groundwater flow coming in here. So I think that had something to do with the decision making.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, and so just to circle back to the rhododendron, in the order of conditions, the special conditions that were approved for this project already, it does say only native non-invasive plant species may be planted on site within resource areas and or buffer zones. And so I think if the entire site is within our local resource area of riverfront area, then I think all plantings would have to be native anywhere on the site.
Yeah, Ilex is fact wet, so it does like it a little wetter than, just a fact. But if you say that's wet, it'll succeed, I'm sure.
There's kind of a wet seep that's running diagonally northeast through the site in that area.
But it wasn't a jurisdictional wetland.
Well, it's
I think
quite,
it's where the building was.
yes,
Oh,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah, the
if-
wetland came
Had the
right up
building
to the
not been
building.
there, there would have been wetland under it, I think.
Okay, got it. Well, then those are great plans for a wetland. Are we requiring any kind of like success threshold of, typical of a BVW replacement or restoration?
So
I
I'm
don't-
looking at the last condition you had
Hmm.
was continued monitoring and manage. Oh, that's invasive species. Sorry, that's
Yeah, I don't think we had anything like that. I think, like you said, usually we do that if it's, a wetland, uh, replacement or whatever, or restoration. But I think generally we haven't done that for just native plantings.
Well, if it's in riverfront, I mean, if it's, I hate that it's just locally jurisdictional, but if it is technically a resource area under our bylaw, we could require that.
Yeah. And I don't think we did on the original order of conditions on this
I
project.
see. Okay.
yeah. I was just looking and I don't see anything related to that specifically.
I have one more question and then I promise I'll shut up. About
Go
the
for it.
snow stockpiling in the settling basin on the lower left, I guess that's southwestern corner. I imagine your OMP has language on periodic sediment removal. I mean, I imagine that's going to be sedimented and can get clogged pretty quickly.
Yes. I will double check. I'm sure I mentioned that.
That could change elevations and then it could just top out really fast if it's not maintained regularly. I think we have a boilerplate condition that says upon request, commission can receive maintenance inspection reports for stormwater facilities.
Yeah.
But we don't keep them
Oh, sorry,
regular.
go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, and so the operation and maintenance plan, I have the same O&M guidance for both the rain garden, and I've labeled this on the plan as a water quality swale, which is maybe a little bit of a stretch, but it's got the same thing. It's inspection, removal of sediment, looking for erosion and repairing that, making sure the vegetation's healthy.
Commissioners, do we have a boilerplate condition that requires that the applicant or whoever their OMP subcontractor is maintain a maintenance log and that can be made available to the commission upon request? So if in the future that was becoming really sedimented and not regularly maintained, could we in the future come back to the owner and ask for action?
I'm looking right now.
I don't think so. I think we've added that to some as a special condition. I don't think that's just in there.
I feel like we
Yeah.
might have added that to like the Big Y project or something, some project in that area, but I could be wrong.
I mean, regardless of whether whether you have the log showing the maintenance, if there were, if one of these were not functioning, for example, if the sediment built up in that water quality swale to the point that it really wasn't holding anything anymore, the site would be out of compliance with the approved plan as part of the order conditions. So I think you have the right, whether it's written in a condition or not, if there's something that's not being cared for.
You mean the right to require corrective action if it's not functioning?
I would say, yeah, because they'd be out of compliance with the approved plan. I guess I really shouldn't speculate too boldly on that. I mean, these stormwater management facilities are key to all of these wetland projects. So
I think I've seen in the past not a lot, but some of these stormwater management facilities collect a lot of fines and then they don't drain. So they hold water and then that water turns into, a pond, which is not the intention of the stormwater facility in the first place in many cases, particularly a settling basin. So I'm just thinking about if, you're putting snow in there and it probably would be collecting sand more than fines, which is a coarser material size, but
Mhm.
just trying to think of any potential,
Certainly it
Speaking
needs to be
of-
attended to, otherwise it will fail eventually. And anything without maintenance will fail eventually.
And I'll just add about maintenance logs in the general conditions under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. There is a thing about the responsible party shall operate and maintain all stormwater BMPs in accordance with design plans, operation maintenance plan, blah, 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 blah. The responsible party shall maintain an operation and maintenance log for at least 3 years, including inspections, repairs, replacements, make it available to DEP and the Conservation Commission upon request. However, for this project, above that, it said the work associated with this order, and then it was checked, is not subject to the Massachusetts Stormwater Policy Standards under the Wetlands Protection Act because it's
We have
under
no-
our local.
We have no new no new discharges into resource areas.
And so that condition did not apply because that was checked. So maybe that.
Can I just ask the other commissioners how they feel about including that or changing that condition to instead of for at least 3 years for the life of the project? Or do you guys feel like that it's sufficient the way it is? I mean, what do you all think?
Hey, Chris, do I have to, when I built my Westfield storage facility, I had to, I had a maintenance plan that I got from the engineers that I had to sign and get to the city. And I think it was to inspect right when we opened up, and then I was supposed to clean out, every year. I can't even remember what the specifications were, but I was just required to clean out. But it was was it from the DEP?
No, Westfield has a stormwater permit that you would have had to go through. And typically in the towns that have a specific stormwater permit, they put in a requirement for some kind of agreement or signed acknowledgement of the plan. And DPW gets involved in ensuring those are inspected and that sort of thing happens.
Okay.
Kristen, to answer your question, I kind of feel like nothing in the change in the design of the project would make that condition more relevant now than it was when we originally conditioned it. And so it feels a little weird to add it on in the amended order of conditions process instead of doing it originally. I don't know. That's just my first thought on it.
I'm also
would- I
thinking that, good.
I would add that no owner is going to want that clogged up. No sane owner would ever want that to be clogged up, period, or anything like that. So, I mean, most of the owners of these facilities, they're pretty good at maintenance. I mean, if I own it, I intend on owning it for my lifetime. So, as me, I would always make sure that's cleaned, and basically, I would have to clean the other stuff too if I was supposed to, if they wanted me to do it in Westfield, it seems to me I would probably just, keep on some kind of schedule of that manner.
Erica, you can go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, it's good for 3 years, and then we still have the right that if they're out of, like Chris was saying, if they're out of compliance, we can still request them to do something. So I'm not sure adding it in is not really necessary at this point, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we do have the option to be sort of proactive about it. If an agent sort of notices something awry there. I don't know if and even if it was added, I don't know that would, I don't know. I mean, compliance is always an issue. with ongoing things like that, but when it's extra, I guess. So I don't know.
I will also say, I think if it's really abandoned and unmaintained and it's holding standing water and accumulates enough soil to have hydric soil and a hydrophytic plant community, it can become jurisdictional. So there's motivation on the owner's part to keep it maintained so it doesn't turn into a jurisdictional wetland, because then you wouldn't be able to dump snow there anymore.
I agree.
I think that happened on another site for another project that we reviewed where there were these jurisdictional wetlands along the edge of the property where it used to just be like a swale there, and then eventually it filled in over time and became wetland. And now that someone is redeveloping it, they have to deal with all these wetlands around the property.
It happens a lot, to the point where we've had projects where we've had to ask the commission to give us an enforcement order so we could clean out the detention basin.
Oh, wow.
What do the other commissioners think about including a condition on post-plant installation? I don't want to call it like a buffer zone or a riverfront area restoration plan unless that's what the applicant called it, but some sort of monitoring with a % threshold of success anticipated and corrective actions offered if the success criteria aren't met after 2 years. Again, I don't think that was part of the original proposal or the original conditions, but it's changed and now there is a pretty significant planting plan. So just curious what the other commissioners think about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, compared to the snow thing, that one, I think it would be more relevant with the changes to the plan because they're adding more plantings to make up for the fact that there's more impervious area. So I think that would kind of go hand in hand with the changes made to the plan. So I think that makes sense to me. I don't know about Erica or Fletcher.
Yeah, I think as long as the applicant is on board and kind of willing, I think that works. If there's a lot of additional planting, so
yeah. And so Jim, that'll just mean after whatever time period, we'll go and verify everything's still living. Probably it will have spread at that point and there'll be even more than you planted. And if there is a failure of one of the species for whatever reason, we'll swap something else out for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll be on top of that, making sure everything's, trying to survive.
And what's the time period that, I don't know, do Chris and Travis, Erica, anyone have a thought there?
If it were a BVW restoration plan or like a state riverfront restoration plan, usually it's 2 years after installation during the growing season, and it's 75%. So you're allowed for a 25% failure. And if there's anything more than that, you can write a corrective plan of action for approval. Maybe you see that, one species failed and another species really thrived. So instead of planting more failed stuff, change the species composition to whatever seems to be more successful.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm in uncharted territory here because this is only jurisdictional under the local bylaw. So I think we have some wiggle room it's up to
I'll say, it sounds like Jim is on board. 2 growing seasons and 75% success is pretty reasonable as what we'd hope to see out there.
Oh yeah. I'm totally comfortable with that. I will do everything we can to make sure everything survives and stuff like that. So we want everything to look really green and just really nice out there and stuff like that.
Erica, I saw that you unmuted. I don't know if you had something to say.
That was just sort of but yeah, no, I agree. I think 2 growing seasons is reasonable and 75% survival rates.
And I will say,
it's really,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just gonna say if it's really as wet out there as they say, it should not be a problem for it to keep multiplying and growing. So
As long as we don't have 2 drought years in a row,
yeah,
which is
well,
always possible.
Yeah.
I will say, Kristen, you said during the second growing season, but we actually got some guidance back from DEP saying that we had approved one recently during the second growing season when we should have waited until after the second growing season.
No, I think if they planted it, say November, they would do their first inspection next spring and fall, and then the second year would be 2025 spring and fall.
Yeah, but we would have to wait until the end of the growing season to like the fall, like when they inspect it in the fall to like if they inspected it. We had another project that we just gave them a certificate of compliance for having survival during 2 growing seasons, but it was for this year being the second growing season, and it wasn't the end of the growing season yet.
Oh, I see what you're
So
saying.
has to make it through the growing season.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Good to know.
We'll wait till the fall.
There you go.
All right. So seems like a well agreed upon condition there. And
Yeah.
I was just curious, question for Doug, maybe. I saw there's black gum in there. Did you see other black gums in the area, or I was just curious, like, I don't see many of these plans, but I haven't seen that often, and I was just curious if that typically has a good survival rate as a planting like that.
It does have a good survival rate. Yeah, it is one that is kind of at the upper floodplain kind of positionality in relation to wetlands, and I did not see it on this site, but it is a common species in this valley. And within the edge of wetlands, so it's not an uncommon species. It's a rather hardy species. It's a good species if you've got a wet swale along the edge of a road, that it kind of takes a little bit of salt and some of that abuse from some of the street tree kind of plantings in areas, but it likes having wet feet, but it can tolerate drier seasons as well. So it seemed like a good species for the mix. So.
Cool. Yeah, that was going to be my other question was going to be about salinity because of the snow plowing. So that's good that one seems tolerant.
Fletcher,
or is there a low?
I think we confirmed at when we approved the order of conditions the first time that they were not going to be using salt on site.
Yeah,
okay.
No.
Jim doesn't want salt because he's got metal siding on his buildings that doesn't like it very much.
Well,
Nah, the only thing that we might have is just a sidewalk where the customers come in.
Got it. That's great. Okay.
All right. Do the commissioners have any other questions or comments right now? If not, this is a public hearing, so I can open it up to public comments, even though I don't think anyone's here from the public. All right, I'll go ahead and open to public comments. Maybe someone will join at the last second. Any public comments or questions? All right, I'm not hearing any, so I guess that's the end of the public comment period on this public hearing. So I think just to sum up so far, I think the only conditions we've talked about, like additional conditions, would be, in 75% survival of native plantings after 2 growing seasons. And then I think we were saying that the rhododendron should be switched out with a native, because in the conditions that were already approved, it should be native plantings in all resource areas, and the entire site is a resource area under the local bylaw.
Yeah, so we'll look into that, and if it is in fact questionable, we'll find something similar to change it out for.
I
said, Oh, go
I can
ahead.
just quickly chime in. Did a quick review, and although the original horticulture to create the plant was done in Massachusetts in the 30s, it was a mix of a native species and a non-native species. So we'll pick a different one to replace the PJM from one that's found in Franklin County.
I can put the citation in the chat if you don't have it for the Dalclina.
Sure, let's do that.
Sure, that'd be great.
And I guess just to reiterate, if we make a motion to issue the amended order of conditions, I don't think we would need to add an additional condition for that, because that would just be complying with the condition that's already on there, that they should be native plantings. So I think that would just clarify. That would just ensure that you're complying with the conditions already approved.
Understood. Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, does anyone else have any questions or comments, or would anyone like to make a motion to issue an amended order of conditions? Oh, and I'll just, since anyone who's watching the recording can't see the chat, I'm just going to read what's in chat now. Kristen posted, the Vascular Plants of Massachusetts, a county checklist, first revisions 2011 by Melissa Dow Kalina, Brian Connolly, Bruce Sorey, and Paul Summers.
All right, I
No.
will make a, oh,
Go ahead.
was someone going to say? Okay. I'll make a motion to issue an amended order of conditions for 105 Newton Street, given the special conditions laid out as well.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to issue an amended order of conditions with the condition for 75% survival after 2 growing seasons of the native plantings.
I don't know if we want to just strike the special condition that we had, just because it's just
Which
for
one?
the SWIP, which is, we already have the SWIP, so we don't really need that.
Oh, yeah. That was a special condition that we originally approved.
Right.
What can you read what that condition said?
Sure. A SWIP shall be submitted to the Conservation Commission prior to construction.
I think it could still apply. We've just already done it. And we're in compliance with it.
Yeah, I would say we could just leave it and just check it off immediately.
Yeah, that works too.
Okay. So I think it's just that one condition then, the 75% survival after 2 growing seasons.
Do we have any kind of reporting requirements associated with that? Like an annual report following spring and fall inspection each year, or like how is that worded? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we can decide right now.
Okay.
Sure what a standard language would be for that.
I mean, if it were a state jurisdictional resource area, it would be 2 inspections in spring and fall for 2 years following the first growing season after installation. But again, I think under the bylaw, maybe we have flexibility. So
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, since it's not like a wetland restoration that we're asking for or anything, I think even just monitoring it that one time after the second growing season, you know,
Yeah, it
and
would be
then,
in our interest to do the additional ones, because if something's failing, we'd want to
Yeah.
switch it out, because otherwise we'll
yeah,
be at the end of the 2 years and we'll have to put more plants in and wait 2 more years to finish things off.
that's true. But
But
maybe we don't need to require a report.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
yeah,
Because yeah, you're right.
Um,
If you find that you're not meeting the requirement and it's the year you want to apply for a certificate of compliance, then you kind of wasted some time. But maybe we don't need to be. Maybe that can just be something internal. I don't know. Erica, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's what we've done before, is that we haven't necessarily required the report unless we feel there's a problem, we want to see the report. But yeah, I mean, I would think, yeah, in their own interest, that probably doing it at least annually, just to make sure that stuff is actually growing. So
Yeah, and like you said, with the certificate of compliance, I mean, we'll have that time to, ask if they met that. If we don't get a report, like we can ask them when they apply for a certificate of compliance to prove that that happened. So it sounds like no reporting requirement. But I think
Until the end, you mean? Demonstrating compliance
Well-
with 75% success.
Travis, are you just suggesting that at the COC hearing that we sort of check in on it and that's like the reporting, or?
it could be either way, I guess, or like report at the end.
Yep. Yeah, either of those work for me. I think, a report at the end couldn't hurt. That sort of covers the major.
And we said 2 growing seasons, 75% survival. And what are the conditions if it's less than 75% survival?
Then a corrective plan of action could be presented to the commission at, whatever the applicant recommends, but for our approval, something like that.
Okay, that sounds good. Present corrective action plan. I guess I'm just curious, the applicant, about having a report at the end or just waiting until certificate of compliance. Like, does it matter for that condition?
Could they, I don't know, that's a good point. Could they submit a summary of the survivorship with the COC request?
Yeah, I mean, I guess when it comes to the certificate of compliance, like, we're going to look at all the conditions and ask, to make sure those have been met. And
But I just
So-
don't want it to be, I don't want the onus to be on the agent or the commission to go out and do an
To
inspection.
remember
I'd
that.
like to have a report by
Yeah.
by the owner or the applicant.
Yeah, I think
But
I think you can call it a report. What we'll probably do is just take the plan and go around and check it off and say,
Yeah.
these are all alive.
Yeah,
These couple failed, and here's our percentage.
Yeah, and if we don't see that until
that
the
sounds good.
COC, that works. I don't think it.
Yeah.
If that's after the second growing season, I think that's fine.
So 2 growing seasons, 75% survival, less than 75%, present corrective action plan, and provide the commission with a report on the
And
actual
requesting the,
percent survival.
yes, when they're requesting the COC.
Or before, they can submit it before.
Sure, yeah.
I'd say we'll just leave it, present a report. And then if it gets to the COC, if we don't have one yet, then they have to submit one then.
Yeah.
Okay, Mitch, does that sound clear for a condition?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay. All right, any other discussion before we vote on the amended order of conditions? Okay, not hearing any, so I'll do a roll call vote on issuing the amended order of conditions with the condition as we discussed. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
and I am also an aye. So that motion passes, and we will be issuing an amended order of conditions.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you all.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you very much, you guys.
All right, have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Just for my notes, who seconded that? I missed it.
I think I
Erica?
did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so, yeah. That sounds right. Okay, let me get back to my agenda here. Okay, so I guess next on our agenda is other business and enforcement updates. Any topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the posting of this agenda.
Yeah, we can go over the conservation land proposal.
Yeah, that sounds good. So we got a last minute right before our meeting email about this, I
Yeah,
guess.
yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to share the?
Yeah, I'll pull it up. It's these two parcels here, with the brook running through it, had some wetlands. It's all forested, just 1.3 acres. Travis had the idea of seeing if we can get like the proposed road that didn't happen to be included get that from the city, or see if we can buy some of these other parcels that aren't being used, just because it's on the smaller end.
And it would make it one continuous.
Right.
Yeah, I was
Right.
just
Yeah.
gonna
It's got
ask,
this weird gap in the middle.
is it contiguous with any other open space?
No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's yeah, and so just to the west there, so like the west of where there would be a road, but there isn't a road, that's owned by a church. And then, houses to the east, and so there isn't really any open space around it, but this is in our local riverfront area, and part of it has wetlands on it. And it's also in an environmental justice area.
Oh.
I looked that up too. And an area where there isn't really any other conservation land or parks or anything like that.
I honestly
Um,
don't see any downside to it other than what is our responsibility, and is there going to be any kind of money in escrow for us to administer those responsibilities? Like, do we have to complete sort of inspections every periodic time period? I don't even know what it is, or like what are we liable for? I mean, I can't see
yeah.
a downside other than that.
Yeah. So, well, in order to acquire the property, I think Mitch shared that
Hmm.
MACC recommends doing like a site assessment and like a deed.
The title report.
Yeah,
Yeah. Examine the
title.
title.
And then there was something else like an appraisal or something like that.
Well, that I think only applies if you're buying the property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I think the process would be we would have to do those things, which we do have a conservation fund with like 4,000 something dollars in it, if we needed money to do those things, which is for managing and acquiring conservation land. And then after that, if we wanted to accept it as conservation land, we would vote to do that. And then that would go to city council, and city council would have to approve it.
I wasn't clear.
And
Is she? I wasn't quite. Is she offering to just give it to us, or does she want us to
Donating.
buy it and save it, and then protect it?
No, she's not. She's not selling it. She's donating.
Just donating. Okay.
So it'd just
yeah,
be the cost of like the title examination and do an environmental assessment.
Mm-hmm.
This might be small enough just to walk, though. I feel like.
And maybe some cost of some boundary marking, and
Yeah, like
I
a
don't know if there's
survey.
any existing trails, or not a survey, hopefully, but like a just sort of doing reasonable diligence on the ground and marking any
yeah.
unclear boundaries, type of a thing.
Yeah.
And then deciding if the only other thing is like if it looks like it's a dead end street, so maybe there's sort of like the possibility of parking at the end, but access is the other thing we might want to think about if it's.
Yeah, and
It
that's
looks like
where,
it might be good, but
yeah, like on the north side, that like skinny rectangle that goes all the way out to the road, that's city property. Yeah, right where his cursor is to the left of that.
okay, yeah. So it
Yeah,
looks like
that city property out to the road. And so that's where, if I guess in my mind, like, this could be leveraged into more. Like if these two parcels were donated, and then if the city would transfer what was going to be a road right next to it to the Conservation Commission, that makes it a little bit bigger. And then there are those other parcels there that are like wetlands and things like that no one's building on or anything. And we could reach out to those people
Yeah, there's a
if they want to
church there.
donate. Maybe they don't want to donate, but maybe they would want to sell. And that's where we could use Community Preservation Act funding to purchase land for conservation land. So, I mean, I don't know if any of those people even want to sell the land, but if they did, that
Yeah.
provides an opportunity to like, and then you got, maybe acre and a half, 2 acres there. It's not nothing.
More than, I mean, if the fellowship or church there somehow decided they didn't want that backland, and you also got the ROWs, you would have
Or even just a
like 3 acres
conservation
or something.
restriction.
Right. Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
we could also go in with them, with the church,
Mhm.
to put a conservation restriction on that land if they I
Yeah.
mean, this is assuming a lot of things that people
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to do that we don't
But
know
yeah,
if they do or not.
If it's specified public access, that would be achieving
Yeah.
similar thing.
And that's I
But
don't know if
it's
I
all
finished that
set,
sentence, but I was going to say that's another thing that Community Preservation Act funding can be used for.
Yeah.
if it's
So I
all
think,
wet though,
yeah.
and it's only like an acre and a half, I mean, public access doesn't really seem like a high priority.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know.
Well-
I mean, maybe you guys have seen it, but I would say before we decide anything, we'd want to do a site walk, I think.
Good point.
Yeah. Oh, go
I
ahead.
mean, it
Erica.
also depends on what we think it might be done with it, I guess. I mean, I don't know if we can make that decision or not, or
Erica, what do you mean?
well, I think the donator had mentioned something about maybe a community garden or something, using
Right.
it for
Oh,
the
yeah.
community. I mean, I know that would be taking down trees, so I'm not sure that's a good idea, but if it was something like that, then we would need parking, or access to be able to. But there is nothing really on that end of town, really, so it'd be nice to have something.
Yeah.
Something
I
there.
will say, what do you guys think of this? So this is on Cherry Run Brook.
Mhm.
Maybe if in the future, I don't know, maybe Travis, what the status of Cherry Run Brook overall is in town, but if there were ever any potential floodplain restoration projects, I mean, if it looks like, I don't know, it would be nice to have the opportunity to do that on city-owned property if it
Yeah.
needed it. I don't know what the status of the existing conditions are, but to kind
Yeah,
of
and
do
I
a
think
watershed restoration project or something.
Yeah, and I think this is like a tributary to Cherry Run Brook.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying to figure that
Mitch,
out.
can you click on where it says number 9 down there? 2.13
Yeah, I was
acres.
gonna ask about this being a possibility as well.
Okay, it looks like, is there that?
It's
Do you
owned by
know-
it's owned by the person whose house is on the main street there, I believe.
Oh,
On the
so
right?
pull the back of their
Yeah.
lot.
Okay. I was just curious if that was like a city-owned property or something, because I was thinking that would be convenient.
It would be so nice if this were contiguous with some other open space. I feel like 1.3 acres all by itself, it's kind of an island, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it seems much more viable if again there's at least potential to consolidate other contiguous parcels, and you never know, like that landowner you're hovering over there I mean, it's wet, right? Maybe they don't want to pay taxes on, what is that, 3 acres or something, and they'll carve off a piece. So I think we site walk and then look at the potential of some of the linking that we're talking about, and
Mm.
then it seems worth it. But yeah,
Well-
yeah, go ahead.
And the other part is conservation land like doesn't even have to have public access. It could just be
Yep.
preserving this as a natural space for, floodplain reasons or things like that. So, if we think this is a headwater stream and we want to preserve, the land around it, that's a valid reason for conservation land also.
Agreed. I would still say it would be nice to link up, to have some contiguous
Mhm.
action going on there. But yeah, I totally agree. Doesn't need access, but I think
But
And that's,
if it,
go ahead, Erica.
I was just gonna say, I mean, but if she's willing to donate it now, we could always use that as what we then try to add things on, because like I said, we don't know what's going to happen down the future, but at least we'd already have that one space, and then we could try and get things to add to it.
Yeah, kind of on what Erica said, I don't see a downside other than maybe some of the responsibilities that the commission would inherit by kind of holding that open space. Unless I'm not familiar with what our responsibilities would be. And if there's some kind of financial obligation attached to that, then maybe that's what we should consider. But otherwise, I don't see any downside. I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be great to
I
make
mean-
it bigger in the future, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I think
mean-
turning down something that they're willing to give us is, we shouldn't. There's also I mean, once we own it or whatever, do we have any liability as far as if somebody gets hurt or any of that stuff, or?
So we looked into this with the whole Stone Ridge Lane thing.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
And,
Yeah.
Essentially, if it's
We're not charging.
public, if we're not charging, and
Okay.
if it's open to people, if it's open to the public, there's
not
very little, and it's in a
negligence
natural, and it's
yeah.
in a natural condition. Like if we build a bridge and the bridge
Right.
was faulty and someone like fell through it and got
Yeah.
hurt, that we could be liable for.
But
But
what about if somebody dumps something and it's toxic? Are we holding the bag for that cleanup because we're the owner? That's the kind of liability I worry
Yeah.
about.
I mean, that's the kind of liability we have with existing
Yeah.
conservation land too. So
Yeah.
So is there some sort of periodic inspection associated with those other lands that we hold? Where and
supposed
is
to-
there?
We're working on it.
yeah,
Okay.
we've been trying to. I've made it out to a handful of them, and Mitch has gone out to some. And I know some other conservation commissions have like a team of volunteers that like, inspects properties, and MACC has like examples of like field sheets you can give people to go out and examine your properties.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
I'm
some
just
really
thinking-
basic monitoring report templates that are
Yeah.
you can hand to someone. It's really just getting
Yeah.
volunteers to be consistent and monitor them.
So when I do a conservation restriction, say for like a client where I work, we usually, and if the commission has agreed to be a holder, there's some sort of money in escrow. So it's not just a gift. There's also money to complete, every 5 years, some sort of an inspection or whatever it is that the commission asks for. And I'm just curious if this is just a gift because it's a financial money pit for this landowner and they just want to be rid of it. But what are our responsibilities, I guess, going forward on that? And if
Yeah. So I don't think there's any like required inspection periods or anything, and also not necessarily any money to do that either. It's a lot less like, it has less of these like contractual obligations that like a conservation restriction has, which is good in some ways and bad in other ways, because then it means that there's not necessarily this, inspecting that's happening as often.
So this would just be town-owned open space.
Yeah. And there was a law that just passed in Massachusetts that if any conservation land does get like sold and developed on, there has to be like a no net loss of conservation land. So it would have to get replaced with conservation land elsewhere.
Oh, so then it wouldn't be permanently protected like with a conservation restriction.
Well, it's protected up to the point where it would take the state legislature to approve it being used for something else. And
By
the Conservation
2/3 vote.
Commission would have to approve it too.
So then
So
if
we-
the town was like, oh, we really want to have some soccer fields and we've identified this site or whatever, like
Mhm.
this, and we did say in this potential scenario, we did, accept this as a gift, could the land use be changed?
If
Only
the
if-
commission agreed to it.
Only
I
if
see.
we approve
And the legislature
and the
voted.
state legislature approves.
By
Sorry, I'm asking
2/3.
so many questions. I am
No,
not
that's okay. This is
that
good.
familiar
This
with
is
this
good.
process.
I looked into this a lot when I first started. So
Okay, cool. Thank you.
That was why I was wondering
Yeah.
if we do acquire it, do we have to like state what it's going to be used for right then, or can we
Yeah.
decide as we go along? Like,
I
do we have
think
to say
both.
yes?
You can keep it general, at first.
Mhm.
The
We
other,
wouldn't
only other,
want to say like conservation land.
yeah. But I mean, it could be for a purpose of, wildlife habitat and sort of, stream bank storage or whatever. Or, yeah. I mean, it can be
and it
that
depends
basic.
on the person donating the property too, because they might have like one of our conservation lands is specifically as like a wildlife refuge, essentially. And that's in the deed when they gave the property to the city. So we don't have any choice about and there are even conditions in there that no hunting on this land. So the person donating it can add conditions in the deed like that too, if they have a specific, and then that's up to us whether we would want to accept those conditions or not.
Mitch, did
D-
the
d-
current landowners state any conditions that they would be interested in adhering to, or?
No, she didn't mention anything.
Is she does she actually live here, or is this because when I was looking at the deed it said that, like, I don't know, it didn't sound like they were around, so is she
No, they're
just
not
owning
around
this
either.
from afar and
Right. I
just
think
wants
she
to
just
get rid of
wants
it
to
now?
be rid of it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, she's just paying taxes and she's done. Okay.
Right. I just figured, why not give it to the Conservation Commission instead
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
having it be developed?
And that's another thing. When the Leiden Conservation Area was Leiden Woods, when that was given to the Conservation Commission, there was some people who were against it because they were saying that it would just take property like off the tax rolls. And
Yeah, I
I
was
guess
going to mention
so
that, but this
that
is
was a question I
undevelopable.
had, was like how much is she paying in taxes per year on this? Like, I think that information would be helpful, not
Mhm.
necessarily to us, but city council has to approve it.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
I think that they would ask that, like, how much is this going to take off the tax rolls? Which I can't imagine it's much, but
Yeah, because there's nothing on it, so right
I mean,
now.
we can
but-
look at what the most recent assessment was and
Yeah.
kind of figure that out. But
yeah.
But
I
there's
guess-
the stream does go right down the middle of the bigger property, so a lot of it may not be
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
developable
think
to
it's-
anybody, so
So Mitch,
the land value for the bigger parcel, when I don't know what the date of this assessment is, it looks like it might have been 2012, but $8,500. So that's
so not much in taxes,
tiny.
Like-
Yeah.
less
It
than
looks
$100 per year, probably.
That tributary is can I annotate? I can't. That tributary that goes through the larger property is a perennial stream, so it's jurisdictional under the state and the town, which I did not know.
Oh, okay. So that it even has the watershed area to be a perennial.
Well, I didn't
wasn't
put the
on.
stream stats, but it's on the USGS topographic map as a solid blue line.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess it could be disputed, but my first glance, quick and dirty desktop assessment is that's perennial stream. So they're going to have a hard time permitting that
Yeah,
anyway.
which is probably why nothing has ever been built on it.
Yeah.
So I guess next steps. It sounds generally we're in favor of this. Mitch, do you think you could contact her and ask just to ask if we could go to the site and check it out? And
Yeah, I did ask her that. She said she'll check her email on Saturday, so we'll schedule a site visit after that.
okay. And did anyone have any questions? I know Mitch said he could send any questions that we might have to her as well. Is there anything we would want to know right now?
I mean, the stuff we just talked about is all I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I could kind of wait till after we do the site visit before we sort of pepper her with, you know, questions she may have to kind of look up. And...
Yeah.
It's really interesting. It's in an environmental justice polygon. You don't really know what it means. It says Block Group 1, Census Tract 411, Franklin County, Mass.
When I looked it up, it said environmental justice area for income.
Oh, is that right? I'm on Mass
Yeah.
Mapper, but it's a huge
Yeah.
area, basically like all of Greenfield. So
Yeah.
Should I reach out to any of these other properties? Or should we wait?
I'd say let's wait till after the site visit. I think we could find out. We could find out anything. Yeah, when we step foot out there.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I think. For this meeting, all we had to do was just, figure out just initial interest in it. Sounds like we're interested for now.
Yeah.
I actually want to confirm the process that I said is correct, that we would vote to accept it and then city council would vote on it. Because when I read that in the handbook, it said that we would vote and then either the select board or the city council. And it said like the same as donations of money into the conservation fund. But I thought donations of money into the conservation fund had to be approved by the mayor and not city council. So
I think the mayor can approve it. I think it can also go through the other way for money. But that's what I read too, was we vote and then city council votes.
Okay. I guess I just want to be clear. I guess I just want to make sure we know. So that if either the mayor or city council was against it, one was against it and one was for it, we need to make sure we know, like, you know, who it actually is supposed to be approving it.
Yeah. I think it'd be city council for sure. It's the transfer of land to the, well, I don't know.
So. But I know like for the transfer of city-owned land to the Conservation Commission, the mayor has to request that city council does that.
Yeah.
So that kind of has to be both.
But I think Yeah, but I think the fact that this is from private owner to us. Oh, I don't know.
Would just be city council. That might be, and I think it might be different if we were buying it.
Mm.
Like, I think
Mm.
city council doesn't have to approve it if we're buying it.
I know for a CR, it's, and the commission is holding it. City council votes, and we need a 2/3 vote. It doesn't involve the mayor, I don't think.
Okay.
And it's a different kind of holding.
Yeah.
If there's no restrictions on this, it's different, but
Yeah, there's a lot. We haven't done any of this
yeah.
since
Yeah.
I've been on the commission. So maybe Erica's seen a property.
No,
No?
we haven't. I don't think we've gotten. We like, other than the FEMA land, I don't think we've got any land recently
Yeah.
that we've had to go through this.
Mitch, speaking of that, do you remember the last time you reached out to the mayor's office about the Stone Ridge Lane parcel? Do you remember how long ago that was?
A while ago.
October
guessing,
2022.
yeah.
So the budget, I imagine the budget allocation happened, and there's more information on the police station repairs and all that. So should be a good
Yeah,
time.
that budget, they actually got that money July 1st, 2022. Because that was like the previous, like that had already been approved.
So it was more the details of the repairs, like what to do with the money.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
were waiting to see like what an engineer was gonna say needed to be done. So I don't know, Mitch, could you reach out again and just ask if there's been any updates? Or...
Yeah, I'll reach out. Yep.
Okay. Right. So does anyone have anything else on land acquisition questions, comments? So on the agenda right now, we're on any topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance. Another thing is today I logged into the MACC handbook, and tomorrow is the last day that I have access to that. Then my subscription expires. Did everyone get a subscription to that this past year, or was it just me? I don't remember.
We only got the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I have it through, I have a corporate membership. Maybe I have it. I don't know. I could check. And if you needed, can we download that to a PDF and put it on the Google Drive?
I've downloaded, I think pretty much all of it, and it's all like kind of organized where you might want it to be, like in the different guidance folders, just kind of whatever that chapter's about. So it's all broken up and in the drive somewhere.
So I guess I was going to ask if we should get a subscription to that again.
We sent them the money. I just don't have the access code yet.
Oh, okay. So we already
Okay.
did that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I'll share the password for that.
Okay. All right. So next on the agenda, enforcement updates. Any enforcement updates?
No updates.
And any project monitoring correspondence and site visit scheduling?
Nope.
I guess just the site visit for the property that someone may be donating. I guess we'll have to schedule that.
Yep,
Okay.
once we get permission.
Yeah.
Mitch, I have a question. Are there any
Sure.
updates on new commission members?
No, I haven't heard anything.
Darn it.
And I'll
I'm just
say
thinking- Sorry, go ahead.
I sent emails to people that I said I was going to send emails to, and the only people I heard back from was the Connecticut River Conservancy, and they were like, "Oh, none of our staff lives in Greenfield, and I can't think of any volunteers to refer you to."
We talked to FERCog. I can't remember if we
No,
assigned
that's on my plate. I still haven't called them yet though. But
because they're in
I'm going
Greenfield.
to.
That might work.
Yeah.
I talked to the Bernardston Concom today at a site walk for work, and said, if you know anyone in Greenfield, but that's
Yeah.
pretty much. I don't have a lot of contacts.
I also sent an email to Rachel to ask if she knew anyone in Greenfield.
Oh, that's good.
I figured she might have some contacts, but
Yeah.
I haven't heard back from her. I said it's not your responsibility to find a new person, but just like
Did you get an update on how she is?
No, I haven't heard back from her yet.
Oh, okay.
So I'll let you know. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully we get someone or DPW can finish their thing before Fletcher leaves. Because
Yeah,
then we just wouldn't
Yeah,
be able
because
to
that
vote
could
on
be a
that.
problem. Yeah.
The only thing I can think for that is I remember there's like this rule of necessity where like
Mm,
if you don't have enough people to vote on something, like and
a
you still
majority or
have to do
something.
it, like
Mm-hmm.
you know, like if we were down to only 2 people on the commission, like we'd still have to vote on things, even
Yeah.
though we wouldn't
Right.
have
Yeah, would
3
the
I
people.
quorum
remember
only
reading
be
it.
an issue if there was a tie?
Well, for wetlands protection, for like, I don't remember if it's all Wetlands Protection Act things or just NOIs, but it specifically says in our ordinance that it takes 3 votes.
Oh,
It's not even like a majority of a quorum. It's like it takes at least 3 votes. So
well, that could be an issue for a lot of things. I mean, I haven't heard a lot of nays come out of our commission so far, but it's very possible that one of us will not vote in favor of something, which is totally normal. I see it on other commissions all the time. So if we only have 3 of us and one of us says nay, that's a project killer. So that's going to put a lot of pressure on the commissioners. So,
yeah, yeah,
or not a project killer, but it could go to appeal and then it's, a whole
yeah.
other thing. So, but still, that's a lot of pressure for a commissioner. Whereas just saying nay right now is no big deal. It's just, I'm going on record as saying I'm uncomfortable with this or whatever.
Mhm. With
Okay.
great
I don't
power
know who
comes
else I
great
can reach out to.
responsibility.
Maybe, I know, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there are a couple more people I can reach out to, but I don't know that many people in Greenfield. Thinking about old professors at UMass, Scott Jackson.
And Travis, you said you already reached out to sort of everybody at GCC you thought was relevant.
Yeah, the every web page that I could find about like environmental science or anything like that, it all had one person as a contact.
Yeah.
And I reached out to that person and I haven't heard anything, so I didn't get a response. I did reach out to someone I know in Greenfield who is going to be retiring at the end of this year. And they said maybe at the beginning of next year. So that's a possible, but
2 vacancies coming up, so
I know. So I don't know. I mean, do we want to give it another meeting and then maybe talk about putting something in the paper or some more like advertising like that?
Yeah. I mean,
That
I'll
makes me a
reach out
little
to,
leery.
Well, it's
Go
up
ahead.
to the mayor to decide whether to
yeah.
appoint them or not.
Yeah, but
And
does she ever, I mean,
I don't know.
if she doesn't know them or doesn't know anything about them,
Yeah.
she just
It does ask when you apply on the website, it asks you like for relevant experience and things like that. So I don't know.
okay, I just know a number of years back I did serve with somebody who was not really appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah. And now that we're doing virtual meetings, I feel like we've even had some members of the public on in the last few years that just were lonely and wanted to have the mic. I don't know. I mean, is there any screening? Like, or is it completely up to the mayor?
It's up to the mayor. We can recommend someone though.
I see.
Yeah, that's why,
Um,
yeah, it seems like if it's somebody that we kind of know, I mean, I know I'm not much help because I don't know anybody either. I'm trying to think, but
Well,
than just opening it up to the
We're
general
all
public.
loners and don't know
'Cause-
anyone.
Yeah,
it sounds
about
like,
like-
oh, go ahead, Mitch.
Greenfield Community College has like an environmental conservation
Hmm.
major, I think.
Yeah, that I reached out to
Oh, you
the
did?
staff contact for that. Yeah, the professor who. Yeah, and I haven't heard anything.
What about like
Um,
the MACC advisory board? I know that there's already a posting on the MACC jobs website, but what about the advisory committee, or I don't know, maybe they're involved in so much conservation commission business, maybe they just know something that we don't. Or do you think if they saw the posting on their job board, they would already know? I don't know. I imagine they probably don't look at the job postings because they're all big cheeses, but maybe just an email, even to Joey Wigglesworth, if he knows anybody, or
Mm.
I don't know. I'm out of ideas.
Any tips for us?
Yeah.
did we talk last time about trying, checking with like Greenfield or
I sent them an
the
email.
tree committee or something? And yeah, okay,
Yeah.
we haven't heard from anybody. Okay.
I didn't send one to the tree committee, but I
That's
could
a-
do that.
I'm
that's a good
thinking
one.
about some of the people who have come before us, but they're probably all so busy that, like Nancy Hazard and
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Although
Uh,
that's good. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to reach out directly to Nancy and,
she actually might not have some names.
yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good one.
I'll ask
Do,
my neighbor too.
does
Maybe he
anyone
knows.
want to reach out to Nancy, or I could send her an email? It's
I can reach out to Nancy.
cool. So it sounds like I was just gonna say, if we do a recorder article, then maybe it should say, it should direct them right to us. You know what I mean? Like, if you have interest, contact the commissioners, even though obviously the mayor does the approval, then we could sort of like recommend someone to the mayor, as opposed to just saying like, if you're interested, sign up, or submit your name as whatever. But instead it could say like, join us for, or join us after a meeting or something, or I don't know
Yeah.
what the best way to do that
Or-
would be, but
Or it could just be like, if you have questions or anything, reach out to Mitch,
yep,
a conservation agent.
and just give your basic interest and background
Yeah.
or something.
And then Mitch could ask them if they would want to like come to a meeting. And I know when I joined, I like came to a few meetings first. and
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I did too. And Kristen did, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe next meeting we can talk about that. So maybe Mitch
Yeah.
put that on the agenda for next time. Talk about
And in the meantime, we'll all
advertising.
pound the pavement so
Mhm.
we don't get to that
We'll just
point.
get out there
hopefully.
door to door flyers. Join the Conservation Commission.
It would be
I mean-
really nice to have somebody who's, as knowledgeable as you, Fletcher, and Rachel, instead of somebody who has to.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have someone retiring from an environmental career.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty
I mean,
sweet.
another thought I had was it would be good even if their specialty was like, even if their interest, or I guess, is like land management
Yeah.
type of thing, because
Mhm.
then maybe they could like spearhead
More of a
doing more
stewardship
with
angle.
conservation land. Yeah, more land stewardship
Mhm.
stuff. And I mean, they'd
Definitely.
still need to vote on things, but
Mhm.
it would be good to have someone, like if we each had our own specialties and like focused on different things, get more done that
Yeah.
way. I don't know. So,
All right.
I don't know.
Right.
Oh.
Well,
Hold on, let me look at our agenda. Okay, so we don't have anything else on the agenda. So the next meeting date is Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m.
I'll just say
Cool.
that I'm going to be going away to Florida again, so I probably won't be available for any site visit. I mean, I can log in. I'll log in for the meetings, obviously, but
Okay.
We'll
if
take
there's a
pictures.
site, yeah, if you could take them and post them in the folder.
You said
And I'll try to
Um,
swing by there before I leave.
Yeah, 12th. Fletcher, before you joined, Kristen had asked when you thought your last day was going to be.
Yeah, I wish I had a concrete date for you, but I'll say I'm very confident that I will still have a Greenfield address until the end of October. Or I'm sorry. Yes, most likely till the end of October. So that's my intention. I will
Okay.
give you an update if anything changes as soon as it does. But yeah.
That's what I thought. I said I thought October, but I just wanted to confirm.
Yep. No, that's my plan now. Yeah, I got a few things in the works, but right now that's the plan.
Okay. No one has anything else. Anyone motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a
Second.
second. All right. All those in favor of adjourning? Aye.
All right.
Bye.
All right. So we are adjourned at 8:11. I almost said 11:08. Oh,
Not
8:11
another one of
p.m.
those.
Yeah, I haven't even eaten dinner yet. Don't be 11 yet.
No.